Welcome to RMU Live. I'm Isabella Harris.
And I'm Brett McGulick.
Hurricane Milton hit landfall yesterday, and devastation is worse due to Milton hitting after Helene. Pennsylvania State Trooper Police are set to deploy dozens of troopers and aid to Hurricane Milton after relief efforts. 54 troopers will be sent to Florida, and they are scheduled to be highly impacted areas for 2 weeks, which is subject to extend and decrease dependent on the demand. This is the first time since 2012, since Hurricane Sandy hit New Jersey and New York, that they sent out-of-state deployment from Pennsylvania State Troopers Police.
More news about Hurricane Milton. After the hurricane made it to land on Wednesday night, it brought flooding into Tampa, St. Petersburg, as well as Sarasota and Venice, with wind speeds at about 100 miles per hour. Since then, the eye of the storm has moved inland and is bringing heavy rain to northern Orlando as well as Kissimmee. Two boaters are missing after sailing to avoid Milton. The U.S. Coast Guard's St. Pete is searching for the boaters who were last seen leaving Charlotte Harbor on Tuesday to avoid the landfall of Milton. Andreas Gabriel Kerberger and Kenneth Thomas Rutzel are headed over Tarpon Springs in their vessel called the Queen Melina. Tarpon Springs is about 92 miles of the Charlotte Harbor. As of yesterday morning, Hurricane Milton has officially decreased to a Category 1 hurricane with winds around 90 miles per hour. Orlando International Airport reported a gust of 74 miles per hour winds on Thursday morning, with sustained winds around 40 to 45 miles per hour. The worst of the rain and winds are ongoing across Orlando.
Social media gathered attention to a man who refused to leave his docked boat in Tampa. Joseph Malinsky, where many people call him Lieutenant Dan, refused multiple evacuation orders and offers from assistance. Malinowski is missing a left leg and has a biblical explanation for his stubbornness. He stated, quote, "I'm not going anywhere because the safest place to be is on my boat. During a flood. We learned that from Noah," end quote. A video circulated on TikTok showing that Lieutenant Dan is alive and doing well, stating he's just a little wet.
Moving on to election matters, while President Biden may have dropped out of the race, he's still expressing his opinions about the former President Trump. Trump had reportedly been spreading falsehoods about the federal response to Hurricane Milton. The president came out saying, quote, "Get a life, man. Help these people," end quote. Crunch time continues as the 2024 presidential election is less than a month away. Democratic candidate and Vice President Kamala Harris is in the middle of her media blitz, trying to get as many voters as possible. Let's take a look.
Vice President Kamala Harris in the midst of a media blitz as the Democratic presidential nominee tries to reach as many voters as possible in the coming weeks of a campaign that is exceedingly close.
It is good to be with you.
Among the flurry of unscripted interviews, most of them on non-traditional news shows, including an appearance on The View, where Harris was asked if she would have done anything differently than President Joe Biden.
There is not a thing that comes to mind in terms of, and I've been a part of most of the decisions that have had impact.
Harris later pointed to one way she would differ from Biden if elected.
I'm going to have a Republican in my cabinet because I don't feel burdened by letting pride get in the way of a good idea.
The Trump campaign quickly seized on the vice president's comments, saying in a statement, "If you're a voter who wants to turn the page from Joe Biden's failed economy, open border, and global chaos, then Kamala Harris is not the candidate for you." With 4 weeks until Election Day, Harris also calling out the former president's series of falsehoods about the federal response in the aftermath of Hurricane Helene.
It's profound, and it is the height of irresponsibility and, frankly, callousness. This is so consistent about Donald Trump. He puts himself before the needs of others. I fear that he really lacks empathy on a very basic level.
In addition to The View, Harris also sitting Tuesday with Howard Stern and late-night host Stephen Colbert, following a wide-ranging interview with CBS's 60 Minutes. This section posted online.
Which foreign country do you consider to be our greatest adversary?
I think there's an obvious one in mind, which is Iran. Iran has American blood on their hands, okay? This attack on Israel, 200 ballistic missiles. What we need to do to ensure that Iran never achieves the ability to be a nuclear power, that is one of my highest priorities.
Harris telling Stern the high stakes of the election is causing her to lose sleep.
I literally lose sleep and have been over what is at stake in this election.
With the election a little less than a month away, Harris and Walz continue to up the ante with former Presidents Barack Obama and Bill Clinton now joining the campaign trail in support.
At least 22 people are dead from Beirut as Israel struck a populated neighborhood. The deadly Israel strike happened on Thursday night, and a senior Hezbollah leader did not survive the attack, according to a source in Malit Group. Italy summoned the Israeli ambassador, saying Italian bases were hit and calling Israel's actions unacceptable. We're going to send it over to reporter Nick Robinson to hear more about this issue.
With this cabinet session about how Israel will respond to Iran's strikes last week brings the country one step closer to responding. The vote in the cabinet is expected to put the power of authority for the next step in the decision-making in the hands of Yoav Gallant, the defense minister, and Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Gallant is on record in the past few days as saying an attack on Iran will be strong, it will be powerful, it will be surprising. He says they won't understand what hit them, they won't understand how it happened. Now, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, in his discussion on the phone with President Biden on Wednesday, publicly has given no indications of what was discussed. The White House has not given any indications. That Netanyahu has given Biden assurances that he won't strike the targets that President Biden doesn't want him to. That is the nuclear facilities, that is Iran's oil infrastructure. So at the moment, the Israeli government playing things very close to their chest, not giving an indication what they'll strike or when they'll strike, only that they will strike. The defense minister seems, by his words, to hint at some kind of stealth strike, but that would be hugely difficult because the targets inside Iran are about 1,000 miles away, although Israel has that range and reach for its fighter jet bombers. They've got to fly over some very, very difficult terrain and potentially deep inside of Iran. So at the moment, a response coming, when and what, unclear even now. Nick Robertson, CNN, Tel Aviv.
Moving on to news in the music world. It's another week, so you know what that means. Another Diddy update. Sean Combs has officially spent 3 weeks in jail preparing for his case, as well as visiting family. One source close to the music producer stated, quote, "He needs to focus on his case. That's all he's been doing all day," end quote. A trial date for Combs has not been set quite yet, but the request has been sent out for April or May of next year.
Elon Musk unveiled the new Cybercab on Thursday night, and he plans to bring more autonomous driving tech to other models in 2025. The AI-powered vehicles do not have steering wheels or gas pedals. Musk said Tesla expects the Cybercabs to cost under $30,000. He estimated that the vehicles would be able to become available in 2026. Tesla is also expecting to make the full self-driving technology available on its newer and popular model X and Y. Vehicles in Tesla are going to be available in Texas and California next year.
TD Bank has agreed to settle charges relating to failures in monitoring money laundering linked to drug cartels. The settlement includes a $1.3 billion penalty to the U.S. Treasury. Regulations found over 90% of transactions went unmonitored between January of 2018 to April of this year. These failures have been acknowledged and plans have been announced to improve security.
Ethel Kennedy, the widow of Robert F. Kennedy, has passed away. Her daughter Carrie Kennedy announced Thursday her mother's death on X. Quote, "It is with all our hearts and full love that we announce the passing of our mother Ethel. She died this morning from complications related to a stroke. suffered last week, end quote. Ethel raised 11 kids, including the 2024 presidential candidate Robert F. Kennedy Jr. After her husband's assassination, Kennedy suffered many tremendous losses in her lifetime, but thanked her Catholic faith and family for keeping her strong. She was 96 years old.
The Prince and Princess of Wales visited Southport, England to meet with families of 3 children fatally stabbed during a dance in July. This was Kate's first public appearance since completing chemotherapy. The couple thanked emergency responders and mental health practitioners for their support, with William calling them heroes and urging them to prioritize their well-being. They described the visit as, quote, powerful on social media.
Stay tuned whenever we come back to hear local news around Pittsburgh.
Every day,
millions of people are connecting.
and even though we're overcoming obstacles,
watching each other's backs,
And banding together.
we should still make an effort.
We should still make an effort.
to get to know each other,
on a deeper level.
Father,
cosplayer,
Mentor.
Actor.
it's time we take a step forward
it's time we take a step forward.
Come together.
and discover
How accepting our differences
Can make us stronger.
Yeah! Sam, Elmo!
Oh, hey, Julia. You ready to play band with us? I'm gonna play my clarinet.
And Elmo's gonna play his drum. Drum loud.
Oh, well, you know what to do, Julia.
Julia knows.
With Julia's autism, loud sounds can be too much.
But she still loves to make music. Play band.
Early screening for autism can make a lifetime of difference. Find out more at screenforautism.org.
if you love them enough to crawl into a play place to get them to come down, then surely you'll check nhtsa.gov/the right seat to make sure they're in the right car seat.
Can I get the now bar, please?
$1.
Have a good one.
Got it.
Hey, what's going on?
Hey.
Let me get a now bar.
Sure.
$1.
Appreciate you.
Got it.
Welcome back to RMU Live. Let's dive into news in the Burgh.
Jeanette Police Officer Matthew Painter is facing multiple charges for tampering with public records. Westmoreland County detectives found inconsistencies with 18 different traffic reports he filed. Chief of Police Derek Manley came out with a statement saying, quote, as police chief, I want to reassure the citizens and visitors of Jeanette that this is an isolated issue and is not a practice tolerated by this department. We will continue to uphold the law and answer every call to protect the citizens of Jeanette, end quote.
A missing teenager from Pine Township was found on Thursday. Antonio Aiello is said to be doing well, and police told Northern Regional.
Early Thursday morning, a small fire broke out in the Bloomfield neighborhood of Pittsburgh. The fire was reported around midnight. The fire was quickly extinguished and no injuries were reported.
There were more than 30 small gas leaks found in Cranberry Township on Wednesday. The Cranberry Township firefighters, along with Columbia Gas, went from home to home in the neighborhood Fox Run, checking gas leaks. The neighbors were complaining of feeling nauseous and not very well. The Cranberry Fire Chief, Scott Gehring, stated that he's never seen something like this before, and they are glad they caught the leaks in time.
Nurses at UPMC Western Psychiatric Hospital voted to authorize a strike due to severe understaffing, which has led to the closure of several units and a reduction in available beds. The nurses represented by Seal Healthcare Pennsylvania are negotiating for better staffing levels and higher wages. UPMC states that negotiations are ongoing and they're committed to supporting their employees and patients. A rally for mental health care is planned for October 16th.
A strip developer has proposed to turn a Comfort Inn into an affordable housing in Pittsburgh's North Side. Brianna Tyson and Brett Walsh are along with their company Holit Properties to join the quest to meet the urgent need of more housing in Pittsburgh and Allegheny County. They have faced a large amount of pushback from the community members who've explained challenges of homelessness, drug dealing, and other crimes.
40 different private schools are currently dealing with a price-fixing lawsuit, one of those being Carnegie Mellon. According to the lawsuit, the school made an agreement in 2006. The lawsuit claimed an alleged price-fixing agreement increased the cost of tuition by over $6,000 compared to other schools not in this agreement.
A canine ranger along with the Allegheny County Sheriff's Office were able to help a demented patient who had wandered off from their facility on Wednesday. The people used the patient's blanket for the scent, and the canine was successfully able to track them down. The patient was found 2 miles from the facility and she was unharmed. If you like RMU Live, make sure to check out RMU Focus on Mondays at 2 p.m.
Coming up after the break, we look at what's going on in sports, as well as the weather, so don't go away.
It's been difficult because I hadn't been able to see my grandchildren.
I can't wait to get back to field trips with my school.
Not having to think about putting on a mask.
I really can't wait to get back to life, really.
I miss all my friends. I miss taking pictures in school.
An expression on someone's face when you do something nice for them.
COVID-19 vaccines are available, and they're the first step to safely getting back to things we miss most. Visit getvaccineanswers.org so you can make an informed decision about COVID-19 vaccines.
Imagine being fired because of who you love. Imagine being denied medical treatment because of who you marry. Imagine being evicted because of who you are. Millions of Americans don't have to imagine this. They have to live it. Because in 30 states, it's legal to discriminate against LGBT people.
It's time to make an informed decision about COVID-19 vaccines. The dangerous new Delta variant is more than twice as contagious as the original virus and can affect anyone. Right now, 9 out of 10 hospitalizations and deaths from COVID are among unvaccinated people. Getting vaccinated might save your life, and there's now an option that's fully approved by the FDA. Learn more at getvaccineanswers.org.
Honorary Forest Ranger Betty White here, lending a hand to my dear friend Smokey Bear, because for years he's only said,
"Only you can prevent wildfires."
But there's a lot more to say, like if you park your car on tall, dry grass, the hot exhaust pipe can start a wildfire. So keep the animals safe, especially the cute shirtless one. Go to SmokeyBear.com to learn more about wildfire prevention.
Welcome back to RMU Live.
Let's see what's going on this week in Colonial sports.
Thanks, guys. All the fall sports are up and running now in Moon Township. Hockey is finally back, and the RMU women's team is rolling, sweeping Bemidji State last weekend, winning the second game in the series in overtime thanks to a goal from Thalia Diala. They'll look to boost their 3-1 record against a tough team in Clarkson, who's currently ranked 3rd in the USA Today college hockey poll. This will for sure be a series to watch this Friday and Saturday, October 11th and 12th at 3 p.m. Women's soccer also has an entertaining and difficult matchup this week as they play reigning Horizon League champions Milwaukee in the Brew City. After coming off a draw last weekend against NKU and a 1-0 win against Cleveland State midweek, the Colonials will for sure want to continue this unbeaten streak against a team that knocked them out of the playoffs last year. On the other side of the pitch, men's soccer will look to rebound off a tough loss to Purdue Fort Wayne last Saturday as they take on Wright State tomorrow at the North Athletic Complex with kickoff slated for noon. Football is also back home this weekend, and I guess you could call it a sort of homecoming as they take on Delaware State at Joe Walton Stadium in their signature homecoming game at 3 p.m. Now let's go downtown and look at the Pittsburgh teams, with the Penguins returning to PPG Paints Arena for the start of their NHL season. While the hype was there for the Pens, the team disappointed in their home opener, being shut out and losing 6-0 to the New York Rangers. Thankfully, though, the team looked better last night against the Detroit Red Wings, scoring 6 goals of their own and coming out winners 6-3. Newbie Anthony Bolivier scored two of those goals, with the former Canuck taking the place of Brian Rust, who's injured currently, which means no half-off Rust shakes anytime soon. Finally, the Steelers will look to hopefully turn around their 2-game losing streak when they take on the Las Vegas Raiders this Sunday at 4. Coming off a draining late loss at home last Sunday night against the Cowboys, Justin Fields will look to rebound and pick up with a win on the road. That's all I have for you guys today. I'll send it back to Brett and Isabella.
It is an exciting weekend at RMU. The homecoming football game is going to be a great event for alumni and students.
Alrighty, now let's take a look at what the weather is like for this upcoming weekend. We'll send it over to Michael Damer.
Thanks, guys. For the weather for today, it'll be 71 degrees with 51 as your low, with a humidity of 55 degrees and a chance for participation at 12 degrees. Over for tomorrow, it'll also be 71 degrees with 58. It's like looking into a mirror, with 59% humidity and 21% chance of participation. As for the rest of the week, we have Sunday at 74, and then it'll dip to 54 on Monday, a 20 degree difference in between 2 days. 52 degrees is for Tuesday. Wednesday will be 56 and 38, and then Thursday, 62 and 40. However, for today, it looks like it's going to be dry for the homecoming dance, and then it looks like it's going to be good also for the homecoming football game on Saturday. Over back to the desk.
Thanks, Michael. Looks like it's going to be pretty nice for the homecoming weekend. Check out RMU Century Media to be updated on all news from RMU and Pittsburgh.
Coming up next on RMU Live, we see why a woman called 911 after a home invasion.
Roll over. Chance high five. All right.
When you adopt a shelter pet, you discover all the things that make them unique.
And your mother and... I am totally a hot person. Right, guys? Thanks for being honest.
They're a little bit of a lot of things, but they're all pure love. Adopt pure love at theshelterpetproject.org.
Multiple studies have shown that marijuana can slow both driver reaction and response time, which can be really dangerous. He's here. He's here. Wait. What? I can't drive. Why? My. Oh.
Stem is precise, no margin for error.
Dare to forget that. Dare to have fun with it. Get weird with it. Dare to send those old STEM theories flying past the neighbor's house into outer space. Dare to program something internet-breaking, record-breaking. Dare to blow their minds. Dare to learn the difference between sedimentary and metamorphic rock. Go find those rocks. Dare to keep daring. Dare to STEM. Check out She Can STEM to get started.
Welcome back to RMU Live. Waffle House is helping the Southerners in a different way than usual.
The unlikeliest of heroes has sprung into action in efforts to provide comfort during Hurricane Helene. In the wake of the hurricane, the Waffle House Index provides reliable again. This informal metric used by locals and officials gauges storm severity based on Waffle House operations. About 24 locations are closed in the Carolinas and Georgia, indicating significant damage. As Hurricane Milton approaches Florida, many Waffle Houses along the Gulf Coast have preemptively closed, signaling severe impact. The Waffle House Index remains a trusted indicator for storm damage and community needs.
Gateway Pundit, a far-right conspiracy site, has settled a defamation case from 2 Georgia election co-workers who were falsely accused of the rigging of the 2020 election results. Details from the settlement were not made public, though.
A major recall has been issued by Bruce Pack affecting over 9.9 million pounds of ready-to-eat meat and poultry due to possible listeria contamination. The USDA discovered a contamination during the routine testing. While no illnesses have been confirmed, listeria can cause severe symptoms, especially in vulnerable groups. Consumers are urged to discard or return affected products.
Are you worried about your pumpkins going bad after carving them? A man in Thompson, Connecticut might have a solution for you.
Up a driveway in Thompson, Connecticut, 28-year-old Christopher Chernacki has found a solution to his pumpkin problem.
I was sick of buying my own, decorations for the season or pumpkins that are going to rot after a couple of weeks.
Having picked up welding as a hobby turned small business, Chris has an eye for uniqueness.
I like seeing handcrafted stuff instead of the cheap items at the store that get tossed every year.
Which is why for the last 2 years when fall rolls around, his once stored collection of empty propane and helium tanks
I'm either going in the scrapyard, people are dropping them off.
Are transformed into what he calls forever jack-o'-lanterns.
I drill them, I make sure that there's no residual propane left.
Chris calls his business Fat Boy Builds.
Bigger guy myself, but I like building stuff.
And he says using his time and talent for things like merging metals has really worked well for his pumpkin product.
I've made 200 or so I sell them at like community days downtown, craft fairs. I go to swap meets and sell them as well.
The faces are freehand.
Everybody likes a different one.
And there's all different kinds of designs that are constantly transforming.
I leave them as is for people to spray paint and color them how they want. I also do custom orders.
All of them at a reasonable price and a decoration that will last decades.
The propane tanks are $45. Depending on size, it goes up a little bit. I also have helium tanks. They start at about $20.
Chris says people are usually amazed he's taken a hazardous material, making it safe and spooktacular.
The kids blow up. Their faces blow up every time they see them.
And for him, it's fueled his creative fire.
The most enjoyment I get out of it is driving around town and seeing the actual jack-o'-lanterns on people's porches, because I know that's my work.
These are the perfect jack-o'-lantern replacement that you could use all year long. The bird flu outbreak has expanded into California, and farmers and veterinarians are warning that it may seem harder than within herds. There are no more signs of serious illnesses and effects in people. Like the first 2 human cases in California, the third case involves a farm worker who has contact with the sick dairy cattle.
As the leaves fall and the temperatures drop, we all know what that means. It is officially sick season. Vaccines for COVID-19, flu, and RSV are available now. Getting vaccinated in the fall provides protection throughout the season. COVID-19 is already circulating at high levels, and flu won't be far behind. The CDC predicts this season will be similar to last year's, with high hospitalization rates. Vaccination is key to limiting severe infections and keeping you out of the hospital.
A woman in Washington state called the police after dozens of raccoons were swarming her home in Poulsboro. The woman eventually had to flee the property after the raccoons became very aggressive and demanding for their food. It wasn't clear what caused the numbers to skyrocket between the raccoons, but both the Sheriff's Office and Washington Department of Fish and Wildlife determined that no more laws were being broken. We will see you next time on RMU Live.